you mentioned Rob Trujillo, and for anybody who doesn't know, you play, I guess still do it, right? The cover band called The Wedding Band, which is Rob and Kirk from Metallica, as well as some other people. You had like Joey Castillo from Queens of the Stone Age and Mark from Death Angel and Whitfield Crane, and I'm
John,
not sure
John
who else.
Theodore is the main drummer, who's
Okay.
is in Queen is the Stone Age currently. Yeah.
Got it. Okay. How insane is it to be playing on stage with people from Metallica and these other just absolutely iconic bands? And how did you end up being part of that?
Well, how does it feel? I mean, truth be told, like I feel like you don't. If it felt weird or like I was like overhyped about it, I don't think I would be there. Do you know what I'm
But
saying?
it's cool.
It's super cool. Like I feel grateful, and it's a fun gig because we're playing like Sabbath songs and Judas Priest, and I'm an old soul. Like even though I play a lot of modern metal and I've kind of moved forward in that, like I like just getting in a room with like loud amps and just playing tunes, and jamming. Like I'm so in a weird way, I kind of fit in that mold of like these more old school kind of mentalities. And I like playing that guitar style. And it's really fun. But how did it come about? So I mean, a lot of it kind of goes back to I filled in for Lamb of God in '09 and toured with Metallica. I did about 3 weeks. So I got to meet the guys and be familiar with them. And I moved to LA 2014 after I quit God Forbid. And I was just like, just doing gigs and just trying to, I came out here, I didn't have a dollar to my name. And I just like, just went for it, and I was doing this cover band with Ken Schalk from Candiria.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And Ken was filling in for Rob's other band called Mass Mental, which is like it's like two bass players. It's Benji from Skindred, and he was filling in for Brooks Wackerman, actually, who's in Avenged now. And they have two bass players, but there's one part in the set where they needed a guitar player to do these Black Sabbath tunes. And Ken was like, "Oh, I'm jamming with Doc," and thankfully, Rob remembered me, from doing the Lamb of God thing, and so they just brought me in to play these Sabbath songs, and they liked it. So we did the gig. It was at the Whiskey. It was the first gig I played in LA. I just did 2 songs, I think, or 3 songs, and fucking like Ozzy was there, and Duff McKagan, and like I met Stuart Copeland from the Police. He like complimented my guitar playing. I was just like, this is fucking wild. And then. I think what they liked about what I did is like, I came to rehearsal and like they would start playing. I would just start jamming and I was very, kind of free. And a lot of players, especially in like the metal world, are not
kind of tight.
Yeah, it's very rigid and I at that point I had a pretty diverse background in terms of like what I like to do, and so I just seemed to fit in. And Rob called me the next day and he's like, "Man," he's like, I love the way you play. I love your feel. He's like, "Man, I love your attitude." He's like, "You're going to do great here." And he just kept calling me, but it was mainly for like, rehearsals. Like they had another guitar player for the gig, but they needed someone. So I was just like the fill-in guy, like to help them out. I did a couple gigs, but rehearsals.
The X-Man.
Exactly. And then Bad Wolves started happening, and that was taken off. It was right at the same time Metallica was putting out their last record. And then I remember looking on Blabbermouth, like, "Oh, the Wedding Band is doing something." And it was like a lot of the guys from Mass Mental. And I was like, "Damn, man, that's cool, man. That's fucking cool, man." And then I get an email from Rob. He's like, "Hey, man, Wedding Band is doing this thing." He's like, "But Kirk can't make the rehearsal. Can you do fill-in?" Which I had kind of done before. So I was like, yeah, sure. And I happened to have time off. It's a lot of songs, but some of them I knew. I showed up. I was like, I wish I was like a little bit more prepared, but I was like, I got it done. But I got through the rehearsal and it went really well. Like it sounded good. And I was just like, because I just, when you're playing with Rob Trujillo, you want to like do him proud. I wanted to like, and that's how I always approach everything. And it went so well after the rehearsal. He's like, man, it sounded really good. He's like, "Man, maybe we might want to get you on this gig." And then he's like, "Oh, let me make some calls." So he's like, he does make some calls, wait like half hour, and then he's like, "Yeah," he's like, "You know what, man, we just really don't have the budget for it." But during that half hour, I went from just being happy that rehearsal went well to now thinking about I could actually be playing on stage with these guys. And then so I said, well, what if I pay for my own flight? And he goes, "All right, well, let me get back to you." And then a couple hours later, he called me. He's like, well, if you pay for your flight, he's like, we'll take care of hotels and all that stuff. So I did that. Like I basically did a red eye into Toronto. We did the gig, and I did a red eye and flew, started the Bad Wolves tour with Papa Roach, and like it went great. It was bad. It was kind of like just a whirlwind of stuff. But then the band kept doing gigs and they kept calling me back, and now I'm like in the band, I'm really tight with Rob. I see him a lot and we talk a lot, and it's like he's kind of like my mentor, I feel like in the industry, because his career is very similar to mine, where he played with certain bands and kind of kept moving up the ladder, but being a professional and being understanding kind of the job. Like, people really only see kind of the surface of this, but it's like it is fucking hard work. Like, I'm working on a gig right now. I've had a day off in a month. Like, and you don't think about music being like that. You think it's like, oh, we're gonna party and there's gonna be chicks, and like, no. Like, once you get to this point, it's like any kind of entrepreneurial blue collar, like this, it's just fucking hours and time and concentration and being a professional.
You got to show up for this gig, which is not an easy one, and you got to be able to play. The expectation is that you're going to be able to play all of this stuff when you show up.
Absolutely.
Just the same as any other job.
Well, especially me, because I'm in the Eliza environments. I'm the low man on the totem pole. I'm the new guy.
Right.
I'm the young guy. I'm the one that's doesn't have the same resume. So my standards are even higher, right? If I come below a certain standard, then I'm not valuable to any situation. So it's listen, I feel super lucky. I mean, the first guitar solos I ever played were Kirk Hammett guitar solos, and to be in the same room and jam with him and working on stuff and him showing me stuff and just and I'm lucky that I've played with so many different people that I understand what it is to like blend in and figure out your role, and it's all about chemistry, right? Like, I can't just be in the room and be in Doc World. I have to mold myself to fit in with what's happening, and be the person who is there to like make everything work better. And that's it. It's just like being glue, to make everything work together. Because bands are tough, man. It's like you're only as strong as your weakest link. And you got to listen to each other, and it's all about the personal and the vibe. Like, that's what people don't really realize. They think it's just about playing. So much It's about hanging out.
There's plenty of great guitarists out there.
Yeah.
Why are you the guy for the job beyond just what you can play? The confidence too. Like, for anybody who doesn't know, Ken Schalk, the guy you mentioned before, is from a band called Candiria, and he's a fucking monster. Like, one of the fucking best ever. And like, to have the confidence to get in a room and play with him and Rob Trujillo, like, that's fucking intimidating.
Well, it's weird, man. I'm
not because Rob is like famous, but because he's a really good bassist and Ken is a fucking ridiculously good drummer. And it's like, holy shit, this is a tough room. Rob's
the best bass player I've ever played with, and it's not close. Like, he's like virtuoso level musician, it's insane, but I think my personality is very much contradictory in that I'm eternally filled with self-doubt all the time, and then I'm also
and arrogance.
Yeah, I don't think it's arrogant. It's just more like,
I'm just joking.
It's like, what it is? It's like I'll feel that way, but once I get in the room, I'm like, this is what I do. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I prepare incessantly because of anxiety, of fear of failing, fear of not of not doing well, and not, I never want to be the guy to disappoint the people around me. But it's this constant, dude, I wish I could be just someone who's just like, I'm the man all the time, because I just go back and forth, and it's so fucking annoying.
Yeah.
And I think you can't perceive yourself how people perceive you, and that's a tough